Hello and welcome to episode number 16 of Just Shillin'. I am one of your hosts, Sean Hoffman.
And I am your other host, Andy Bell.
How's it going, buddy? What are you up
Really
to?
well.
What's nice?
Really, really well. It's been a good week. Uh, wish you wish we lived in the same country. Wish we lived in the same area. So you could have enjoyed some of the fun and games that's been happening the last week or so. But yeah, I've had a good week. Really, really good week. What about yourself?
My week has been pretty good. Pretty good. Not a lot of complaints. Obviously, we've had a lot of stuff going on. Um, it was crazy because on May the 4th, which was this last week, we got a sudden 8 inches of snow on the 4th. Um, Which
I
it's all
saw that. That's
melted
crazy.
which it's all melted now, it's all gone already. But yeah, it was crazy because it's like, I'm excited for spring, and all that fun stuff. So it dumped on us, and I was pretty upset about it, but then I kinda like, we kinda spun it around because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, we're Echo Base, you know? Happy May the 4th, and we're Echo Base, and yada, 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 and hopefully it all melts," and it did. So that was, got my heart like, my blood pressure up for no reason because I 'cause I'm ready for spring, I'm ready for the warm, to get out and start doing some stuff. But yeah, other than that, man,
Amen.
it's been a it's been good. It's been good. Besides that, we we can jump straight into kind of something I know that you got to take part in as well. Um, we got our celebration tickets. That went through. That was painless, relatively painless.
Ah,
Yeah, it
I
was
have to
awesome.
think. I owe you big time. I owe you big time, and it will. We'll explain it later. But I was somewhat incommunicado last Thursday my time at midnight. To be able to get on there, and I was looking at the frustration from some of our friends that were not able to get tickets, while others were able to get tickets and celebrate. And it seems to be pretty much everyone's got what they wanted, which is cool now. But of course, you did all of the heavy lifting for both of us, so I cannot thank you enough, mate. Because yeah, we got tickets, and it's all thanks to you, and you got mine for me. So I owe you big time,
Oh, I mean,
big time.
it it's you make it sound like we did a whole lot. It's like I clicked on the link in the email, and then it's like you always seem to forget when when this kind of stuff pops up. It's like, oh, I gotta be there right on time, and then I'm gonna get them, and it's
Mm.
gonna go really quick. But then I always forget that like you kind of have to sit there for 30 minutes and like wait for the walking man to get to the end of his little line. It's like, oh, I forgot what this was like sitting here waiting. But at least this time around, like we had group chats and stuff with our friends where we're all sitting there talking, and you kind of really see how chaotic it is. Like people like our friend Brittany, she always seems to get in like first thing and get her tickets. And then other people are just like, well, they're way behind, but everybody seemed to get them. I know that the 3 days sold out. But last time I checked, there were still single days available
Yeah,
even now. And it's like, I wasn't worried about things selling out, and now I think this just kind of furthers that point. I am ready for hotel information to come out.
yeah.
Um, Fingers crossed that that comes soon. I was hoping it would come out around May the 4th, but we'll see. Hopefully that's soon. So I think that's the only thing that's really blocking us from booking flights and really starting to plan the bigger trip. But yeah, we got tickets, we got some merch that we're gonna pick up while we're there.
Awesome.
And, starting the countdown. Oh, is my web let's see if my website's still up. I put that website up to count down how many days. There are 344 days and 5 hours and 16 minutes and 37 seconds until Star Wars Celebration.
So we're less than a year.
Yeah, we're within a year, yeah. Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay healthy, stay healthy, and stay safe, everyone. We're less than a year away. That's really cool. No, mate, I'm delighted for everyone that got their tickets. Listen. I know it was no big deal for you, but it was a big deal for me that you went out of your way and said, "Listen, just And there's an explanation for this, so I'll explain when we talk about uh, what I've been up to this week, as to why maybe it was a little bit less accessible for me to grab the tickets on Thursday evening. But no, I'm just grateful, and I'm more chuffed that everyone got what they wanted, and um, yeah, it was kind of cool, and um, I was watching or experiencing the chat amongst you guys
Yeah. Yeah.
retrospectively the following morning, um, when we woke up the following morning, and you know, some folk like Catherine, bless her, she was pushed back, right? I mean, she had, 1 minute she's 40 minutes, and then next minute she's an hour and a half away, and it was like I couldn't
I mean,
deal
it
with that
definitely
kind
did
of
it
anxiety.
definitely did
But
that.
sorry,
It would definitely go up and down. So it's like, and that's the
yeah,
thing, it's like, it's like, "Oh, I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about it." Then it'll jump back down again. It's like,
yeah,
it is heart-wrenching at times. I'm like, "What if they do sell out? What if I can't go and I've got my hopes up?" But
yeah.
no, I definitely felt for her because she seemed to be on the tail end of a lot of it.
But what I thought was really, really cool, again, by the whether it was the organisers or whoever did it, but the pricing I thought was quite cool in that if you did have to resort, if you did miss the 3 day pass, you resorted to day passes, then
Mhm.
the accumulative total of 3 days seemed to be on a par with the 3 day pass, which I thought that's fair. That's really fair, and well done for doing that. So yeah, no, yeah, I'm just stoked that the folk that can make it because they've got tickets now, and um, again, it's one step forward. Sorry, one step further to it feeling very, very real, and this is very, this is happening now. So yeah, I'm stoked, mate. And again, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We're all one takeaway I thought was interesting was is that normally the last day, which is usually Sunday, is usually discounted a little bit because it's not a full day. Usually it's a
Yeah,
partial day, then most of the day is standing around waiting for either closing ceremonies, getting out early, or just trying to get last minute deals on the floor. But this
yeah,
this time around, it's the same price. So my assumption, especially since it's only 3 days instead of the usual four, I bet it's going to be I bet they're going to be three very full long days instead of doing 3 long days and a partial. Like, I'm curious to see how this shakes out, especially with like closing ceremonies. Like, are they going to
yeah,
want to do closing ceremonies late? But we will talk about that as we do our Road to Celebration series. But I just thought it was interesting because that's something that's been in the back of my mind of like, how are they going to do Sunday? Because it's usually like a blah a blah day where you're just kind of hanging out and doing stuff. But if it's going to be another big, impactful full day, like that's be interesting to see how that shakes out.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So we want to use what we've been up to in the last week or so to talk about May the 4th, the most important holiday of the year, of course. But is there anything else that you've been getting up to in the last week or so outside
I've
of Japan tickets and May the 4th?
I've decided I've been experimenting with making my own cold brew coffee. Um, it's going all right. If anybody out there has tips or tricks, you don't have to send a voicemail in, but just ping me. Let me know what you're doing, how you're making it. That's the only other thing I've really been up to is watching the snow melt and playing with coffee.
Okay. So the only other bit of information I had for you was that on my side was outside of the main topics of discussion for this evening. Um, I don't know whether I talked about it just with you or on the pod. Either way, um, I was meant to go into eye surgery yesterday. It didn't happen. There was a bit of a mix up around lenses and expectations and stuff like that. So that's going to happen now on Monday. So that was a bit disappointing in that I was hoping to get that done and for my eyesight to be all clear and cool. But no, it's not the case. So hence the reason why I'm doped up at the moment with eye drops and dilation drops to make my pupils extremely extremely large at this moment in time. But hopefully, I'll have an update for you next week on how that went, which leaves May the 4th.
Woohoo!
So, and I'm kind of I'm a bit of a turncoat on this, if I'm perfectly honest with you. When May the 4th as a thing or as a holiday or something to celebrate um, came out, what is it? I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years ago, whenever it first came out, I kind of thought that's so cheesy. I'm not interested. It's just a means for retailers or
Yep.
companies to exploit the fandom to sell stuff. And here I am in 2024, and I love it. I absolutely love it because it wasn't about buying stuff. It wasn't about the things. It was about, for me, meeting like-minded folk that I care an awful lot about, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But how was your May the 4th? Did you do anything?
Mine was mine was interesting. So it kind of so to touch on my feelings of May the 4th, I think I've been in a similar boat for many, many years. Like I've always kind of seen it as like a Black Friday kind of thing too. Like in the first one or two
Yeah,
were really cool. Like there was really cool stuff on sale, but the last couple years, it's felt like it's almost too big now. Like I hate that sounds like hipstery, but like it's just like I think I made a joke on the Discord. I'm like, yeah, I think that the Star Wars license is a little too affordable these days when like there's hot sauces and like it's just bombarding. And it's like it's not even cool stuff anymore. Like, and there's just so much everything. Like the interesting news gets lost in the weeds.
yeah,
But all that say, I still love it. My May the 4th was actually more of a May the 3rd, besides the snow on the 4th. Um,
yeah.
so I decided to take off. So this is kind of what I watched. So I'm just gonna yank it up a little bit. Um, I decided that I was like, screw it. I'm gonna take some time off of work. I'm kind of it's kind of a slow period right now, anyway. So I took some time off and I went to go see the Phantom Menace in on May the 3rd at the first showing at 10 a.m. I was the only person in the theater. Um, it was 10 a.m. Um, I drove about 30 to 45 minutes to get there because our local theater didn't have, so I had to go over like to Nevada to watch it. And I was inspired by your recent story about the 4DX or whatever those seats were, like the
Yeah.
moving seats. And so the theater I went to had the D box seats, which are similar. It's like you sit in it, you got the little controls of the intensity, and it will vibrate. And it doesn't like shoot
Cool.
water or anything. It's just like a motion seat. Um, and so what's funny is I booked it and I was like, oh, cool, I can get one of these seats. I picked it right in the center of the theater. I get there, the movie starts playing. I am the only person in this gigantic theater sitting in these dumb vibrating seats. And so I'm like, I had to turn it down at first because I was like you get going, it's like, okay, this is too much. Like this is
Yeah.
distracting. And I feel ridiculous being the only person in here. If somebody like walked in, they just see me just bouncing around. And it's like, no, I'm gonna turn down the sensitivity a little bit. But the funniest part of the whole thing was we got all the way to the point where they're underwater going leaving Gungan City. And like the big fish and stuff are chomping
Yeah.
away at him. And all of a sudden, like the movie just
There's always
stops
a
and the
bigger fish.
exactly. And the lights just turn on and the movie shuts off. And I'm like, well, all right. Okay. And so, trying to, just see if it was like an issue or who knows what. So I just kind of sit there for a minute. I'm like, maybe something happens.
Mhm.
Maybe there was an error and the projectionist just needs to walk back over and go, whoops. So I sit there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and finally I get up. I'm like, no, I think something happened. So I go out to the concession stand and I'm like, hey, I'm in so and so theater and it just like shut off. And she's like, oh no. She's like, I didn't count the D box seats. I, she's like, I didn't think anybody was in there. I forgot to count like your row of like motion seats. So I didn't think anybody was in there. So we shut it off. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. I'm the only one in there. I'm like, can you, she's like, we'll turn it back on. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, are they going to have to start it over? Like, I've never worked at a movie theater. I don't know how like the modern files work. Like, so I'm like, oh, like okay, so I'll just go back in here. And she's like, yeah, we'll still start it back up. So I go sit back down, and then like the guy slides the pane open. He's like, hey, really sorry about that, but like, do you know where you were in the movie? And I'm like, all right. And so then you kind of go through that mental kind of back and forth in your head. I'm like, okay, how does this guy know this movie? Can I like reference a scene, or is he gonna look at me like, yeah, I don't know what that means? So I'm like, I think I'm like 30 to 45 minutes in, the part where they're like underwater with the fish. And he's like, okay. And then next thing you know, the pops back up, and then you just see him like seeking through the movie. Like it's just changing scenes really quick on the screen. I'm like, this is wild. I'm in a movie theater by myself. He goes way too far back. I'm like, no, you got to go back like 10 minutes. He's like, here. I'm like, no, a little bit more. And you just see the whole thing just rewinding. He's like, is this good? I'm like, yeah, this is a little bit too far before. I'm like, but I'll watch that scene again. I'm like, whatever. He's like, yeah, sorry about that. And just shuts the lights off and plays again. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I hope, thanks. And he's like, oh, really sorry about that. Then that when I got done, I left. They're like, we're really sorry about that. Oh, we just had no idea. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, who cares? Like the movie came out
um,
25 years ago. It's like it's not a big deal. Like it was funny. It was an experience that I got to enjoy. And it's not like you were like, we can't start it over. You're gonna have to come
no.
back later. Uh so yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
I'm
mine.
fine. I mean, I'm fine, but the other guys in there are really pissed.
Yeah, they're really mad. If I didn't already have a giant blue icy, I would have been like,
Oh, dude,
you can make it
you are
better
a
by getting an
legend.
icy.
You are a legend. We picked up on you shared this obviously with all of us, and it became honestly it only adds to your legendary status. Only you, mate. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The fact that they shut the whole thing down is crazy, but very very cool. Put it this way, you'll remember it.
Oh
You will
yeah.
definitely remember it. Yeah,
And the best part about it was as at the end of the movie, like they have the acolyte preview thing. And so I'm like,
yeah,
I mean, there's nobody here. So I'm gonna like I can save this for my own posterity and like I can watch it again. Because what
yeah.
nobody's gonna tattle on me. What are they gonna do?
No,
So
no, no,
that was
no.
cool. I got to see that a couple times. But no, that was fun. What about you? What I want to hear about your magnificent like May 4th weekend
Right.
like bonanza that you had.
It was good fun. It was really, really good fun. I told you guys that I was going to that we had plans. I had plans to go and hook up with the UK contingent of the Scruffies, and so Chris, Kev, and I have been talking about this for a while. I was going up that way for work anyway, so it made sense to kind of kill two birds with one stone, bearing in mind the time of year that it is. Um, and yeah, it was really, really good fun. And what I did badly was I gave a little bit of an audio diary, or created a bit of an audio diary in to to explain what we were doing at any one time over the 2 or 3 days that I was there. Now, it's really bad, and I do apologize for it in advance. I took inspiration from seasoned professionals like Josh Chapman, for example, who does the most amazing interviews in live environments and the rest of it, and events and everything. And I thought, yeah, I could do that as well. And I failed miserably, and I'll explain why I failed miserably later on. But yeah, if you don't mind, I've set up a couple of there are five sound bites that I recorded, not on anything more clever than my phone, but I thought I would try to save the fun that we had this weekend for posterity. So the first to give context, the first soundbite is literally um, me on my way up north, um, on the day that I went up north. The second soundbite, if we can play them back to back, because there's not an awful lot of difference between the two. But the second soundbite is when I get there, and the first thing that I did was once I met up with Kev. I got there quite late, and because a lot of it wasn't planned, so I got there quite late, and we immediately jumped over to Chris's place, where we were treated to a Chinese meal with his family, which was awesome. But I got the chance to see his cave, what I'm calling his cave, which basically is the part of the house that's dedicated to his collection, his podcasting recording area, and his craft desk or work desk where he builds and where he does his painting, his drawing. He builds his amazing scratch built, but also kit bashed stuff that he's working on at the moment. And it's all in this very tight, but very, very expansive, if that makes sense, without it sounding like an oxymoron, area, which is honestly, it's like an Aladdin's cave. It's insane. You would love it.
His cave of wonders.
Exactly. It's like all of your. It's like adding all of your toys with all of your kits and all of your paints, and it's everything in one room. I mean, it's the ultimate of man caves. And I don't explain it very well at all in the sound bites, but hopefully my reaction will give you an idea of just how impressed I was with it. So if you can run the first two, that would be awesome.
All right. Well, this is the first time that we're doing sound clips on the pod, so if that doesn't work, well, then we'll figure it out. But here goes nothing. Number one.
Hi, this is Andy. It is Thursday, the 2nd of May, and I'm on my way in the car up north, 100 miles or so, to hook up with the UK contingent of the scruffy looking podcasters to spend a couple of days with them on high adventure and hijinks, and seeing how much trouble we can get into. As promised to Shawn, I'm going to try and be your roving reporter through this adventure and keep you updated as to what we're doing at particular times of the weekend, and share the fun. Speak to you soon.
All right, there, and here is number two.
What are you doing? Wait. Right, I've arrived at the boys' place. We're at Chris's place at the moment, and I'm going into the cave. Oh my god. Oh my god. This doesn't make very good podcasting, but you wouldn't believe what I can see at the moment, Shawn. Honestly, I think I got a semi. Oh my god. Right, I'll get back to you later, mate. See you soon. Cheers.
I heard dog tippy taps. That's the best part.
Yeah. That's his dog that was following me around everywhere. She is amazing and a beautiful dog. If any of you folk remember Fraggle Rock from days gone by, she is a carbon copy of Sprocket from Fraggle Rock. She is adorable, an absolutely adorable dog, extremely lovable and very, very cool. So the next part is when we went into town on the day to mooch about, have some food to make sure we ate, and to mooch about town, have a quick. They gave me a very, very quick whistle stop tour of Nottingham, which I'd been to before, but it's changed an awful lot over the years. So we had a quick whistle stop tour of Nottingham. Did a little bit of shopping. Went to a few favourite places of theirs, but also mine as well. Bought a few things, and generally this was the approach to the countdown now towards what we were planning to do for the evening to celebrate the weekend.
Alrighty, here is number three.
Morning, folks. It is Friday, the 3rd of May.
What's the problem?
The penultimate day to May the 4th, the day that we are going to watch the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. And, we are making our way into town to have a mooch about, maybe a little bit of shopping, and a bite to eat. Wonderful evening last night. Soon as I got there, As soon as I got there,
The pleasure was mine.
we had an amazing Chinese meal, and then settled down to watch, for me again,
Chinese meal.
the finale of the Bad Batch. So I'm gonna very quickly grab Kev.
Oh,
What are your thoughts on the finale, mate?
mate, I loved it. It was great, wasn't it? Yeah, proper good stuff. Shit top, mate. Right to the end. Bit sad though, wasn't it? Bit bittersweet. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, mate. Top stuff.
And what about the future?
Well, I don't know now. They've set in loads up, aren't they?
Eckhart, think about the future.
Think about the future. Yeah, we're going to get more Omega, aren't we?
Yeah, got to.
Probably, maybe another animated show, or we were talking last night, weren't we? Maybe like Rogue Squadron would be a use, wouldn't it? Like some pilot. But then there's also like Echo, isn't there? And what's that squad called that they've got? Is it Domino Squad?
Something like that.
Fuck's sake.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll go with it.
Yeah, we'll see, mate. But yeah, definitely. Very enjoyed it, mate. Really good.
Happy that the ending for the old boys?
Yeah.
For the boys?
Yeah. Because I think we all thought that. I mean, at one point, mate, I thought my boy Wrecker was going to meet his maker. But no, they all survived, and I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, it was cool, mate. Loved it.
What about you, Chris?
Shit top, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Man, a few words. Fantastic review, as always. Well, we're driving in at the moment, so I'll catch up with you later on, folks. Cheers, Sean. Bye, mate. Okay. So, yeah, as I said, not particularly professional, but whatevs. The next two, 4 and 5, are our way in to see. So all of this preamble is towards the end goal, which is for us to go and watch the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, and this is the next two clips are our journey in, of which the first clip, I think I finished it because Chris was being quite monosyllabic on the last clip. I expected the same, and then I think I cut him off too early because he had an awful lot to say about his memories about watching the film for the first time and what it meant for him, which I captured in the last clip that we're also going to share at the same time.
Alrighty, here is number 4.
Hi guys, it's 7 o'clock in the evening and we're on our way to the cinema to go and see the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. We're well oiled, we are well fed, and we've done a little bit of shopping today, had a little bit of fun, and I think we're generally a little bit excited. Kev, how are you feeling, mate?
Oh, why did I bother coming to this crap?
That's nice.
No, I can't wait, mate. It's been a long old time since I've seen. First time I saw this, mate. You know the story in America. Going to New York, mate. So, a bit closer for this, mate. Can't wait, mate. Looking forward to it.
He's excited. He might not sound it, but he's excited at this moment in time.
I am.
Chris, what about yourself, mate? Hey! And we'll catch you guys on the other side. See you soon.
Is that all I get?
No, you carry on, mate.
No, it's alright.
What are the thoughts you got there?
Pass, mate. Pass. Pass.
I think I messed up there. Cheers, kids. Bye.
And then rolling straight into number 5.
So we're still in traffic. I cut us off a little earlier on, or a little too earlier on, and I want to ask Chris about his memories, because the Phantom Menace came at a time that was important to him as a young man. And Chris, tell me about the Phantom Menace when you were 19 years old, mate.
19, mate. Phantom Menace came out. Off my tits hours, mate. Fucking brilliant. I'm well hyped, mate. I'm driving car and I'm fucking hyped. You know what I mean? I'm going to see my man tonight. Tarples, mate. Tarples, mate. R.I.P.
Absolutely.
Grievous, he can fuck off, he's a cunt. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, mate. 1999. What a time to be alive. I was 19. You got your life ahead of you, haven't you? I just got some feels for this film because it's just just makes me feel dead nostalgic of that like youthfulness. Now, we're all in agreement that the 90s is the best decade.
The best decade of all
ever.
time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, questionable.
This was the end of it.
Yeah.
And it was coming to an end, and it was just rad, mate, wasn't it? It's just all that shit everywhere.
Oh, mate, I'd
Fucking
never.
You couldn't go in a shop without Darth Maul's face looking at you on crisp packets or.
Oh, the toys.
It was
Got
like
the
height of my
toys.
fandom, mate. Height of my fandom, and it was just nuts, mate.
Ridiculous.
I was so hyped because like downloading trailer with QuickTime, mate. QuickTime trailer. Taking like
frame by frame.
four bloody hours to download that trailer for Phantom Menace, and then I was like, I must have watched it like 50 times. Like, absolute insane.
So we got, obviously in the UK, it got released in May in America. I've told the story
Yeah.
before. We didn't get it until July, did we?
Nope.
In the UK. Well, as soon as it got released, there was bootleg copies around, floating around, because it made national news over here that there was like bootleg copies floating around in the UK. And I got a phone call one day from a friend of a friend, basically saying, "I've got a copy of it. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Do I fucking want it, mate?" I was
Cool.
like,
Yeah.
it's
What a
like-
stupid question. Like, yeah.
It's like, it's 20.
Yeah.
It's 20 quid. I'm
Yeah.
like, done. Well, to a 19-year-old in 1999, mate, with inflation rates, that were about 100 quid,
It
mate.
was, yeah, man.
And I jumped on a bus, mate. I took a 3-hour round trip, mate, to go and get this dodgy copy of Phantom Menace. And I was driving back, mate, after I'd got it. I'm driving back. I was on bus, and it's wrapped up in my coat. And I felt like a proper. I was
Like a
like
criminal.
doing that thing. Like,
Imagine like a policeman gets on, like, what you got in there, sir? Got nothing.
you know,
got
in
nothing, mate.
You know, in Stand By Me when they're all asleep, and Jerry O'Connell is he's standing on guard, isn't he? And he's like, that, like
Yeah.
every noise he hears, mate.
Yeah.
Every time someone got on bus, mate, I was like that. And this kid got on bus, who I went to school with. So I left school in '97. So I left school in '96. So I'm 3 years out of school, and I've seen this kid in my year of school, and he's coming home from work, and he's got a shirt and tie on, and a suit, and he's just like spent the day at work. He's 19, right? And I'm sat there with my fucking greasy long hair and my Metallica t-shirt and my ripped jeans, with a fucking bootleg copy of Phantom Menace. Hidden
under your coat.
my coat. And this kid's looking at me like, "Hey, Chris, not seen you, mate. What you been up to?" And I'm like, I almost had an out-of-body experience. Like,
Yeah.
this kid's getting on in life, isn't he? He's doing
making,
all right.
he's making something for himself.
He's making
it work,
moves,
isn't he?
mate.
He's making it work,
He's
this
making
fella.
moves. He's in the rat race. Who was most happiest at that point?
Mate, without
You
question,
were.
mate.
course
You
I
with that
was.
dodgy
You
copy,
were.
mate, of Phantom Menace.
And then I remember I got home and I rang my brothers up. So my brothers had both left at that point. And I was like, I've got it, mate. I've got Phantom Menace. And they were like, shut up. I was like, I've got a copy. Are you coming down tonight?
Yeah.
They were like, and I didn't understand in my head how, obviously, you know, both as adults, you can't just drop your life in an evening and drive like an hour to get to your brother.
Your brother's far away from you.
Mate, to watch a dodgy film. And I got dead angry with them both on phone. I was like, fuck you then, I'll watch it on my own. And I watched it on this really tiny like TV on my VCR at my mum and dad's house, mate.
And was it any good?
It was
Decent quality?
It's really weird because the first like 25 minutes or so, from the start up until when they get to Tatooine and Qui-Gon, Jar Jar, Padme, the Queen wants to send her hand me. She's curious about the planet.
No more commands from her.
Yeah,
from behind us today.
Up until that bit, it was camcorder in the cinema, and then it like went and it wobbled, and it like transferred to like a laserdisc copy.
Ooh.
It
Nice.
was, and then like that, from that point on, it was semi-decent.
Yeah.
It was just like the contrast was slightly off on the colours.
So you saw that then before cinema, didn't you?
I saw it before cinema, yeah. So when I saw it at the cinema on opening night, I'd already seen it like about 10 times on VHS, but I was still hyped as fuck like to go and watch it on big screen.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant. Yeah. Mate, I love it.
So yeah, I love this film. It gets panned, obviously. It's not very... I think it's fucking ace, mate. This round. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
As a millionaire's experiment, mate, it's just not... It's crazy, isn't it?
It's an important moment in time,
It is.
and we're going to enjoy it tonight.
Yeah.
Catch you guys later.
That was awesome.
And that's it. That's it. I hope you got the idea of what I was trying to achieve. Unfortunately, as was pointed out to me, I think by Kev the next morning, was you do realise we actually went and saw the Phantom Menace and never followed up afterwards, don't you? And I completely forgot. We had completely forgotten to follow up on what we thought of watching the Phantom Menace again after so long, and indeed the Acolyte snippet that we saw as well. So I'm trying, Sean. I am trying to be a proper podcaster. I'm just somewhat failing at the moment, and I do promise to do a better job next time. But honestly, all joking aside, it was such a. Thank you, mate. Could my school reports reflect the same? Could do better. Okay, but could do better. Anyway, point being, it was a great weekend. We had a bit. It's been a long time since I spent a decent amount of time laughing, and that's all we was laughing. And I implore anyone that wants to know a little bit more about what we got up to this weekend to listen to the latest Scruffy Looking Podcasters episode. And we spent a lot of time laughing, especially during the actual watching of the Phantom Menace. It was so funny because pretty much the four of us, because there was a really good friend of the guys, Graham, that joined us as well. We pretty much knew the script, or the script verbatim, and pretty much called out the funny parts in advance or during the screening of it, and it was really, really good fun. So yeah, no, I've had a blinding weekend, mate. It's been really, really good, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And a massive thank you to the boys, in particular Kev, that put me up at his place as well overnight. So yeah, it's been fun. It really has been fun.
That was fun to listen to, because like to talk about the Phantom Menace and like talk about like what it was like to see it when you guys were younger. Like I think that's what was exciting about watching it, and that was one of the reasons I broke down and went and saw it on Friday.
Yeah,
as well. It's like I've seen that movie a million times, but that was only the third time I've seen it in theaters.
Yeah.
One when it originally came out, one when The Force Awakens came out. I just moved to California and I did a 7-movie marathon with my boss, who I knew for maybe 3 days before going to that marathon, like just 7 movies straight. Which, I mean, going to see it, it's different when you're excited for The Force Awakens, and that's just a hurdle to get to it. And then this time seeing it by myself, like, you just notice so much more when you see it in the theaters. Like, there's stuff that I saw in this version, I'm like, I've never noticed that before. Like, how have I never noticed it? Like, you're forced to pay attention when you're in the theater. And it also it took me back to a time. So when I saw it originally in 99, like, I was 12 years old and going on 13, and that's an impressionable time of your life. And there was that the Force awakened in me that day, because I remember growing up in a small town in the middle of Indiana, and like, we didn't have anything to do, especially at that age. So it's like, you got out of the movie theater, and I remember vividly a buddy of mine and I, like, we got out, we're like, we need more of a certain thing. So we went to like this big Books A Million bookstore that was like right next door to it. We tracked down every Phantom Menace book we could find. We're like, who is this Queen Amidala? Like, I just need to like be 12 and like just I just need to like look at this. Like, what, like, what is happening to me? And I remember I just watched it the other day. I'm like, yep, yeah, I could see why that shaped who I became. Like at that time, I'm like, dang,
It's
that was
isn't
my favorite part of that movie.
funny enough. We talked about this over the weekend at various times. It's like those were really good days, right? And I know I made. I mean, you heard me talking to Chris about the toys, the toys.
Yeah.
I mean, Toys R Us was pretty much drenched
Hmm.
in Phantom Menace merch, with the old Darth Maul logo or Darth Maul branding to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was also a time where information was shared about the film in advance of the film, like things like the books,
Hmm.
or a synopsis, or I remember at the time as well, StarWars.com, in the very, very early days of that. Maybe not so much for the Phantom Menace, but certainly for excuse me, Attack of the Clones, were dripping behind the scenes stuff going on
Hmm.
as part of their PR. And you seem to be, oh, goodness me, sorry, seem to be a lot more informed, heck of a lot more informed as to what was going on. And and yet, despite that, it didn't in any way um, reduce the amount of excitement to go and see the film.
Yeah.
It's a weird strategy these days. We've got. I mean, I know we talked a little bit about it last week about how the sausage is made and do we need to know the problems. Um, should we concentrate on some of the little viral, the
Yeah.
stuff that's a little bit more viral about the creation of of the movie or what have you. Anyway, I don't know. It was but no, it's a good time. One thing that I forgot to I didn't want to steal Chris's thunder because I thought his story around how he first got to see the Phantom Menace was awesome. What he doesn't know, because I didn't want to be one of those people that says, "Well, actually, I've got a story as well," was I did something similar. I was working. I mean, Chris is a little bit younger. Sorry, a little bit younger, older. I wish, but he was a little bit younger than me. And I was actually working when Phantom Menace came out, and I again going back to what Chris was saying, we got it later than you guys did. We got it,
Mm.
some months later, and that was pretty much the norm for most releases back in those days. And a guy at work had the film on CD-ROM.
Hmm.
He had it at work on CD-ROM, and he had it. He said, "Do you want to borrow my copies?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, sure. That would be ace." And they're on two CD-ROMs, very big storage CD-ROMs, but they still had to be on two CD-ROMs. And a little bit similar to Chris's experience in that the quality was not great. One disc was better than the other disc. There were clearly two different recordings at the time or whatever it was, but they were very, very different. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that, like Chris, I had it a few weeks before we were going to see it. So I had a party. Lucy and I had just got married. So we got married in 95 and this is 99. And I had a few friends of mine that I thought were as equally geeky as I am, and I hadn't seen these CD-ROMs at all. And but there's no way in those days. There was no way of being able to. There was no. I didn't have the ability to be able to create an output between my old laptop, which
Hmm.
was which was as thick as I don't know, an encyclopedia in those days, with a CD-ROM in it. I had no way of connecting that to my TV, an old CRT TV. And so I borrowed a monitor from work, and it was the biggest monitor that we had. And bearing in mind, these weren't widescreen; these
Yeah. Yeah.
were like the old monitors, the old CRT monitors
Hmm.
that had a RS-232 that I could plug into the back of my really clunky laptop, so that I could at least show the output from this CD-ROM on a screen, but it was tiny. So you had about there were three couples, so six plus us two, eight people, crowding around. We've got drinks, we've got nibbles. We're trying to do the decent host thing. We're trying to do the right thing. We're crowding around this very, very small, in comparison to today, monitor, watching the worst copy, or the worst quality version of the Phantom Menace that I think anyone ever owned. And we watched it, and I thought to myself, that wasn't great. And I must admit, I wasn't particularly happy with the film at the time, which of course I've grown to love over the years, as a lot of diehard OT guys that poo-pooed on the original prequels, or on the prequels, sorry, have done. And I thought, it must be down to the quality of the film, and it was really, really bad. And so when it came down to me then reaching out to the same people to say, hey, it's finally here at the cinemas, do you want to come with me? They all said no. and I blamed the quality of the CD-ROM that I was presenting at the time. It was really, really bad, mate. Really, really bad, to the point where the adage where you've got people standing up in the cinema where it's being recorded. There literally was a lot of that. Certain scenes were completely missing because whoever was filming it from the back of the cinema was being caught out at some point and had to put the camera down. You've got missing pieces of not only film but of dialogue as well from that. But that was, so I had a very similar experience to Chris, but I think he got off more lightly than I did at the time. Anyway, in conclusion, an amazing weekend. Really enjoyed it, and I just wish we all, as friends, could live closer to each other, because if we could do more of that more regularly, it would be ace. Not just people in the UK, just all of us across the world. It'll be fantastic. But no, for me, this has been, bar none, the best May the 4th I've ever had.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome. That's really cool. Now I want to go after the pod and see if I can try to find, see if anybody still has those bootleg copies.
Yeah.
Like similar to some of the other weird versions that I have. It's like, dude, I kind of want like a busted bootleg copy of the Phantom Menace now. Like, oh, that's...
Sure, I might have it. I might have it somewhere in a. Do you remember the old CD-ROM zip cases you used to be able to get to store all your discs in?
Yeah.
I might have it. I'm on a mission. I'll
written on it with Sharpie. TPM1, TPM2.
If I've got it, it's yours. You can have it.
That's awesome. The one thing I did take away from the Phantom Menace was then this is no way a complaint at all. Like, I love that movie, and I love this. Like, when you watch on the big screen, you definitely notice the special effects.
Yeah.
Like how of a time they were, and it just had me wondering. I'm like, I wonder what similar conversations I've had recently about Toy Story, like the Toy Story movies. I'm like, I wonder what of the source material they still have, because that was all digital. And it's like, could they ever not special edition it, where they add stuff and actively change things, but could they ever release a version where they just refresh the CGI into something not crazy, but just we're gonna do some new textures, not to replace it, but I just wonder what it would look like, because there are times where you're like, whoa, that's jarring. But it's cool. I still love that film, and I would never want to change it, but it's just interesting to know what they would have.
But again, an awful lot of that is because you do know how the sausage is made. For example, we were talking when we were watching it. It's like we were looking at the Bunta Eve pod race.
Yeah.
and we all know that an awful lot of the shots of the faraway shots are with the crowd
Models.
Q-tips.
Oh, Q-tips. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were Q-tips. It's like, yeah, you can see it. If you know what you're looking for, you can see it. So
Mhm.
to answer your question, yeah, they probably could, but then you get into the pedantic. There's
Yeah, I
a
don't wanna
really
open
good,
that box of like, "Oh, we should be
yeah.
fixing things from the past," because that's how you end up with stupid stuff. Like, again, it's
Well,
like, just leave it be,
it's
but
kind of like, if you're going to do. I mean, I'm still looking forward to a day where we have a choice, as we did with the last 3 or 4 releases ago of the original trilogy, of having the option to watch the original theatrical version, or indeed the special editions. I'm looking for a 4K version of the original, of the OT, and for me to have the choice as to which version I want to watch. Ridley Scott did it. Ridley Scott did it for Blade Runner. He a few years back, he basically gave every single version of Blade Runner. Um, he published them as a, or gave permission with the studio to give them out there to the original theatrical run, with the narrative from Harrison Ford, the director's cut, the there are 4 versions. The point being, came in one set, and the idea being is that, these are 4 different versions of the movie. This is Ridley's ultimate version. Um, I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but I'm not going to worry about that. But the point being is that he left it down to the viewer or the fan to make their own mind up as to which version they wanted to watch. It didn't change the context of the story. It only gave nuance towards certain areas. So, for example, when it came down to Deckard, is he a replicant or not? Ridley's final version kind of leaves that question a lot more gapingly open,
mhm.
than perhaps the original theatrical cut did. And I love it, and I love trusting the audience to pick and choose their own, and to establish their own definitive view, which actually may help in cutting down an awful lot of the online discord and fanboy frustrations that are out there, if they're able to have their own version of the movie, and
Yeah.
if not, give them a lot more leeway to create their own headcanon. So anyway, I'm waffling on, but yeah, no, I'm yeah, no, I'll try and look for the my version, my bootleg version, and I'll have a chat with Chris and find out if he's still got the original VHS. Mine was on CD-ROM, so it was in those days it was really quite advanced, although it was really bad. Anyway, news, buddy. Let's. So we've established we've had a really good May the 4th. Very different experiences, but I would say equally as meaningful to our soul building. News. Have you got anything in the news that you picked up on this week?
I have one item from the news, and that one item was a trailer that dropped for the new Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy show, shorts, whatever it is. Star Wars Lego What If, that
Mm.
at first, like, anytime the new Lego Star Wars stuff comes out, like, I watch them, but I'm not like,
Mm.
hell yeah, let's go. But this one, I'm like, this looks cool. I'm excited for it. Like the fact that they're bringing in like Darth Jar Jar, and like it sounds like they're making merch, like Lego Star Wars related merch, for this as well, like
Yeah,
with maybe some
yeah, I saw
alternate
that
themes.
from
That seems
Mark.
cool.
Yeah. That's that. If they do that, that would be cool. That's the kind of bizarre crap I'd love.
Yeah, like a dark Chewy, or even just more dark Ray merch. I don't know. That stuff all seems really neat, and um, like just more of this like non-serious content. I think is really, or like not like, I want movies. I
Yeah.
want movies, and I want the prestige shows and things like that. But I don't know, just more of this kind of stuff. Like I'm not knocking the old Lego Star Wars stuff, but like the Freemaker Adventures and those kind of things, like they were cool. But this seems more like it's more being pulled forward a little bit, so I can give it a little bit more thought, um, and maybe a little bit more entertaining than some of the other ones. More, I guess, maybe more for everybody than it is for the younger audience, and so it can fit everybody. So I'm excited for it. I thought it looked really neat. Did you have a chance to check it out or catch it in passing?
No, I did. No, I did, and I think it's really akin to where my head's at the moment, with an awful lot of collecting.
Mm.
In that, mainstream seems a bit. I cherry pick the mainstream stuff because it seems a bit meh, but the obscure stuff at the moment I find quite funny, and I love anything that Lego does anyway, because they don't care, they really don't care, and also Lucasfilm seems to not be in any way perturbed that they're being ridiculed or parodied by Lego because it's Lego, which I love that mutual respect for each corporation. So now I saw it and I thought it was really really quite funny, and you never know, right?
I did have. I did
I
have.
wouldn't.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wouldn't want it to be another reason for Hasbro to be remiss on their core business. So if it's Lego and they're going that way when it comes down to merch and the rest of it, go for it. You have every right to do it. It's your property. It's your, it's your spin on the Star Wars universe. My biggest concern around other merchandisers or people that have the Star Wars IP, especially Hasbro, is that they'll latch onto that to churn new to churn new product
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of churning new product in terms of meeting their quota, and not actually addressing the fundamental problems of the license that they have and the way that they're executing against that license at the moment. Anyway, that's what I think.
So I did have one other bit of news that's kind of breaking. I'd known about it, but I
Cool.
forgot that today was the day, and I think this is like the hour for it as well. Or super random. But there is a this will be short, I promise. There is a model maker that I've followed for a long time, that has just released a bunch of pre-orders. They make kind of like really obscure characters for like 3.75 and 6 inch like they make these for them. I don't know if I doubt they're licensed, but they do say the actual like Star Wars, they're branded, so maybe they just haven't gotten in trouble for it yet. I don't know. But they
Yeah.
just put some pre-orders up today, for some ones that I'm interested in, and maybe some of our friends are as well. So like, well, some of the ones that just came up today are uh all of these are in 3 3/4 and 6 inch forms. And it's Aces Film Models is who it is. They just released pre-orders for like the twins, the Hutt twins, on their little dais
Yeah.
thing from Book of Boba Fett. B2 Emo, Therm Scissor Punch, Jotaz, or those giant blue monsters from Jedi Survivor, a bunch of other Jedi Survivor characters, including Turgle, and Pilly Wald. So that's cool. And some of the ones they already have. Have I told Hawes yet about Turgle?
Yeah, yeah.
I mentioned it to him a while back when I found out about the pre-orders, but now that they're actually up, it's like, oh, I may have to send him a message. But they've got tons of these like really obscure characters. Like, do you remember the those weird like brothers or whatever they were from Andor, where they just Dewey and Freedy or whatever their names were? Like, one's got like a blade for an arm, like they're like in a quarry, and it's like when Andor.
Oh yeah.
They've got those guys, and they've got all sorts of stuff. I'll put a link to it. I'll put a link to it in like in the show notes. And Chris Hall would love that I have a bunch of different versions of Gonk droids.
Excellent.
Like not just the normal one, but they have a bunch of different versions. But yeah, I'm excited for that, because I'm gonna have to pre-order some models.
Well, I don't think it's a secret anymore. Which I mean, I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago about that. Chris has dragged dragged me down the rabbit hole of bootleg, and which goes along, which aligns with my obsession with the obscure at the moment. Which I quite frankly, I don't know if it's going to change, but that's where I'm at the moment. And he actually said on this week's pod with the Scruffies that he's him and his buddy Dale are looking to do something very, very different. If you think of Dale as manufacturing and certainly Chris as the artwork and the design side of things, because he's a genius at that kind of stuff, they're looking to also go down that, jump down that rat hole as well. So it's not for me to give an update and to explain what they're planning, but he did talk about that this week. So I'm really looking forward to products that I believe are going to come that way in the very near future. And it's awesome. It really is awesome.
Hell yeah, man!
Little bit of fizzle there. So news for me is 7-day week, dude, and I was out for pretty much 4 of them. So I'll be really quick. So the first being that the early reviews of Furiosa look really good. So the Mad Max on anthology, or the spin-off from Fury Road, being Furiosa, looked really, really positive, and some really high-profile reviewers and critics are saying this is particularly brilliant, which I guess I didn't have any doubt about, but the fact that it's being revered in such a way, I'm really looking forward to that, and I will be buying tickets this week to go for that. Secondly, Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a franchise that you know I love. I love the soundtrack. I mean, we talked about it with Eric. It's my happy place. It's if I think that if I say that Star Wars is my love, my true love, then Blade Runner is my happy place where I can relax and chill and just unwind and switch my brain off. And there is a 2099 production being that's in production, sorry, by Prime TV. It's in development, and it's with Michelle Yeoh, who's rumored to be the lead, which I think is awesome because she is frigging brilliant and a major crush of mine, and having her as the lead is particularly fantastic. I guess I'm a little bit disappointed it's not a movie, because I think she can hold her own, and I think that her Oscar demonstrates that she can hold her own. But then again, I think this is where Hollywood's at the moment, in that they're not taking risks, unless it's a little bit like the gaming world, where unless it's a AAA title, let's just not do it. And with Hollywood, unless it's an absolute blockbuster, which of course the original Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, despite being the most amazing films, they weren't big bucks in terms of ticket sales, and so it's a TV series, which I'm a little bit disappointed.
They're trying to
about,
franchise build. That's what they're doing. That's what they want to do.
I was about to say, if that gives them the time and the opportunity to be able to, drag the whole thing out and make it a lot more protracted story, that will create intrigue, interest into either follow-up series or even spin-offs from that series, then I'm all for that. And then ultimately, like I said, it seems to be that the most innovative productions at the moment are coming from the streaming companies. It's I think about how I feel about Fallout, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's all coming from the guys that have the money at the moment to be able to invest speculatively in this kind of media. So no, I'm all up for that. And then lastly, one thing that I didn't know was on the cards, but I only picked up this week, was that Sony has offered $26 billion for Paramount. And the reason why they've done that is, and again, this is the part that I didn't know anything about, was that Paramount were looking to merge with Sundance Pictures to create a conglomerate, and Sony have jumped in to try and scupper this deal or this arrangement that I think was on the cards to buy out Paramount completely, which will make them a very, very significant media company to envy, the size of Disney. I don't know any more than that, apart from that's big bucks.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know the premise behind it, but it seems to be like almost like a counter move to what was already happening or seemed to be happening between Paramount and Sundance. But fair play. If it means that we get better content coming out of it, then great. What I hope it doesn't mean is that 2, 3, 4 years from now, we've only got really 2 or 3 production houses that are actually making live action for the silver screen and not just for streaming. Again, it's kind of an associative conversation, really. But yeah, interesting stuff. Anyway,
given the some of the ding dong moves that Sony's been making recently, and bag dropping stuff that they've been doing, it will be very interesting to see how this pans out, especially in the eyes of regulators, since there seems to be a little bit of an itchy trigger finger with some of these capital B deals that are going through, especially when in like the likes of like media and things like that. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes.
Well, especially how vocal they've been about acquisitions, not just in movies, but in other media as well. They've been very vocal when they've been the downstream victim, if you like, of other companies that are purchasing stuff. It's really weird, but anyway, we'll see where this goes. What about before we go on to the main event, which is kind of the conclusion of the May the 4th discussion, which for me is very much Tales of the Empire. Outside of that, what have you been watching or listening to or reading in the last week or so?
So my reading is still that Greek mythology book. I'm a very slow reader, but in terms of watching, I think I'm gonna have more updates next week, since we have one more episode of X-Men '97, which will be very interesting to see. It's bananas. Like I've said every other week, it's wild. That's inspired me to start doing a Deadpool rewatch, since Madison's never seen them. So we watched the first one the other day.
Awesome.
We also watched Godzilla -1. Her favorite part was the 5 minutes that she was awake for it. She's going to kill me for saying that. But I thought it was really cool. We could talk about that one more another time, because we can get straight to this. And I'm also doing a Planet of the Apes watch through. I've only seen a handful of them, but I've only seen one of the newer ones. And so I'm working my way through those to try to lead up to the next one.
No way. Excellent. You and I, mate, honestly. Seriously. On the same planet. Anything else, mate?
Tales of the Empire, that's all. I mean, there's other stuff, but those can all wait until I get deeper into them.
Okay. So, finished Constellation. Finished it. How do I feel about it? It's set up for a second season. And it's really, really clever. Really, really clever. And it's quite intelligent. I think I said when I first spoke to you about it, it's something that needs an awful lot of something that needs an awful lot of concentration. Because again, the idea of 4 or 5, 3 or 4, I don't know how many it is, realities crashing together with the same people and stuff spinning off and consequences, and I hope it's not something that there is never a conclusion to or an answer to. It's really interestingly ambiguous, but there were no answers by the end of the end of season 1. which I was hoping at least some of the threads would be tied up a little bit, leaving a hint of progression into season 2, if indeed it does get a season 2. But I have enjoyed it. It's quite smart. It's really intelligent. Like I said, needs a little bit of brain power. We finished the Godzilla and Kong movie box set rewatch that Lucy and I were watching. And now, because in the next couple of weeks we have the impending new Planet of the Apes movie, we're watching the Planet of the Apes movies. So
Nice.
our timing is superb, my friend. And then obviously I also watched on Sunday, being March the 5th, I caught up on Tales of the Empire, which we'll talk about in a second. Still watching Scrubs, still watching Battlestar Galactica reboot, which I need to pick up on. Because interesting tidbit, because I haven't, these are things that go on in the background for me, as kind of our background noise while stuff is going on in the house. However, I didn't know that one of the Battlestar Galactica writers is also a writer for All Mankind, which I love, and it kind of makes sense
Nice.
now. The intelligence of the writing, I didn't know that until this week, and there's a reason why I didn't know that until this week, which I'll go into in a second. And then lastly, UK race. The race across the world, the UK game show where they're trying to make it from A to B in Asia Pacific at the moment, and it's good fun, and I'm really enjoying it. Only in the context of, we're gonna be there in that vicinity this time next year, and I'm really really enjoying it. What I've listened to is, and this goes on from the I didn't know that the writer, the BSG writer that is also a writer for All Mankind. I'm really, really heavily getting into the Sackhoff show. So this is the Katie Sackhoff podcast that I was telling you about. Really, really enjoying it. Not this week, but last week, she caught up with Kevin Smith, and which immediately pricked my ears up because I love the guy, and so many of my friends and family love the guy as well, and he's relatively meaningful for them. And an awful lot of the interview is him interviewing her, which shouldn't be the case, but he interviews her an awful lot. And then she kind of gets back the episode on the point, which is to interview him. But during that interview, that's when I found out that the one of the guys that writes for All Mankind was a writer for the original Battlestar Galactica, which of course was her big break as a young, inspiring 20-year-old actress. And then secondly, the other podcast I've been listening to, which is noteworthy this week, is the stuff Dreams Are Made Of, which are the two writers that I tell you about, where they talk about auctions where they're buying. I mean, they're massive geeks. They're amazingly successful writers. They have a shitload of disposable income that I don't have. And this week they are talking about the legitimacy of what you buy in auctions and who owns it. So in particular, they're talking about stuff that's taken off set, or in particular artwork, and who is the owner of the original art that is out there being auctioned on the open market today. And they talked to John Alvin's widow, Andrea, on some of the dodgy stuff that's sold at auction that was originally submitted, and not so much the original poster art or the artwork around the movie that the artists create, mainly around the concept stuff. So when before they get to final production, of course, they create concepts for the director or the production crew to approve before it goes to final artwork. And often it's scrapped because it's working material. But because of the prevalence of or the increase in value of movie history, particularly at the concept stage, it's now a going concern on the open auction market, and they talk about that. And John Alvin is the guy that has done, I would say he's as prolific as Drew Struzan. So if everyone that's a Star Wars fan knows Drew Struzan, he did the original Blade Runner, um, Back to the Future, Gremlins. He has done Poltergeist. Sorry, he has done. He is the, and as the guys on the pod explain, he is the. It was always Drew and John as the main go-to guys in the film industry in the 70s and 80s and 90s for poster art, which of course is kind of unfortunately, it's a very much it's no longer a going concern because of course everything is digital these days. But in those days, they were the two guys, and I didn't even know that I didn't know the guy's name, much to my shame. But it's a really good. It's already a good podcast because it makes me laugh because these guys spend money like it's, I don't know, they spend money like it's no object to buy these very, very expensive artifacts and props in auction. They have way too much money, but sometimes, like this episode, they actually get into some meaningful stuff, which I find interesting. And that's pretty much it, mate. That's what I've been watching, listening to in the last week, which is cool. Which takes us on to the big discussion, which kind of closes out our discussion on Star Wars for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
Certainly until June.
The Acolyte, yeah.
Yeah. So, May the 4th, Tales of the Empire. The second of the Tales of series, or anthologies that were coming out, focused on particular characters again, with two very, very different perspectives. What do you think?
So my high levels, for me, I really like these. They are no shade on the Tales of the Jedi, but this was for me. It was worlds better than those. Way more
Oh
captivating.
wow!
Like I sat down and started watching them May 3rd that night, and I just blew through them like on my laptop, just watching one after the other after the other. It's like, I mean, at a high level, like initially I enjoyed the Morgan arc more while I was watching it, but at the end of the Barriss arc, the previous episodes like really grew on me. So if that makes sense, it's like I enjoyed watching the Morgan one while watching it, but the Barriss one I think has more. I enjoy it more looking back on it, and there's more to take away. The other high level thing was like the animation. Like I don't think they're gonna go away from this like style of animation anytime soon.
I hope
But
not.
they're gonna continue to kind of tweak it, and it's like it's incredible now. Just I know I say that every time a new show comes out, but it's like this was a different level um of thing. It's like but yeah, those are my high levels. I'll talk about the individual arcs more once I would love to hear what your high levels were. If you
Sorry,
have them.
no. Just on that point about the animation, I really hope they don't change it because it's now synonymous with expert storytelling.
Mhm.
I think about the original. You think about when the Clone Wars was originally the movie was originally released, and you see this kind of very carved wooden type of
Mhm.
angular style, which was very, very different to what was around at the time, which was a little bit more realistic, or indeed a bent towards towards anime, which was a lot more fluid.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself at the time, this is a bit weird. It's a bit
Mhm.
weird. But now I think about it, and I wouldn't want it any other way because it's synonymous. It's created a brand. The way that animation has developed, but still feel relatively familiar with
Yeah.
the original, the original, the original media. I think is phenomenal, and it really, really is only synonymous with Star Wars animation. So I hope they keep it. I really do hope they keep it. No, I thought it was great. I really did think it was great. I thought it was an amazing uh, um, couple of arcs. Can you remind me? One of the things I wrote down, and I'm not going to go through all the notes like I normally do, because quite frankly, we'll be here for hours. But the point being is that remind me, were they released in sequential order last time? So you have Morgan, her 3 episodes, and then you have, I've forgotten her name now. Barris's 3 episodes. Weren't they broken up
I
this
think they
time
were
last year?
they were interwoven, I thought.
Yeah, there
But
was like a Ahsoka episode, then a Dooku
yeah.
episode, then a Ahsoka. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
No,
part of
I'm
me's
glad they
like,
did it this way. By the way,
yeah, same here. It's like a part of me wishes they weren't individual, like, short episodes. Like, a part of like, I've never felt this way before, but I'm like, I kinda just wanna, like, take it and cut out the credits and just make it, like, 2
yeah.
longer episodes, but I'm like, I have no patience or time for that. Uh, but yeah, I liked that they were like, you could get the arc over with. Not that over with, but, like, you could consume it at once instead of bouncing back
Yeah,
and forth between 2 things, but yeah.
yeah. No, exactly. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. I have some questions,
Mhm.
but I thought it was really smart. I thought Morgan's arc, I mean, all of them started at the in the wars against the separatists. Then the middle episode was very much based on the actually no, that was only Morgan, wasn't it? Morgan covered all 3 trilogies. She started in the Republic. Then her middle episode was the Empire. And then her final episode was during the Mando timeline. Whereas Barris's ended before New Hope, because obviously
Inquisitor was
there
still
were still
around.
Inquisitors around. Yeah, exactly.
Even though they made her look old, and, that's my question is, like, how much
Yeah.
time had
So
passed?
yeah, I've got I've got a lot of questions. And if you don't mind, I'll ask them of you just so that we can speculate, even if you don't have the answers. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, Morgan's episodes, the Path of Fear, Path of Anger, and the Path of Hate, I thought were absolutely superb and really quite clinical. I mean, you now understand the whole point of the for Dathomir sentiment that we saw in Ahsoka. She saw the brutal extermination of her fellow sisters, saved by the Mountain Clan, who also went through the same kind of crap, despite the thought that Morgan thought that fighting the Empire the Republic was the best way forward. What I found interesting was she lost her tattoos. So when the Night Sisters lost their magic, she lost her tattoos as well, which I thought was quite interesting. Um, um, yeah, no, really, I mean, the early parts were great. The What I did find interesting was that she was an administrator, sorry, or was of someone of influence, trying to be part. Sorry, she was the genesis or the originator of the TIE Defender program, which
Yeah,
I
that
never
was cool.
saw. I never
Yeah.
saw that coming. It's like, whoa. I never saw her as an engineering type, but the fact that she was the one to sell that concept to the Empire, which of course the Empire kind of poo-poo, and it takes someone like Thrawn to say, yeah, you're hired, I'm up for this. The fact that
Mhm.
it came from her in the first place, thought that was rather cool. I hope it's not squeezing a square peg in a round hole just
Mhm.
to create a plot point. But I thought that was really, really cool. And of course, at that point, we see the likes of Pelion, his
Mhm.
right hand man, and of course, Rook, um, part of the story as well. And then finally, um, we see her on Corvus, where she's the administrator, where she's kind of sacking the planet or raping the planet of its resources and its people. Um, clearly, to be part of the TIE Defender program. Couple of questions. This is where I had the questions. Why burn the tree? So, if you remember when the New Republic come in and say, "Hey, we're here. We want you to make you part of the New Republic, and you're going to answer to your crimes if you don't become part of this new gig." Um, they blew up the ship, but then a whole bunch of Morgan's troopers went out into the forest and started burning the forest. Is that to prevent the fire from spreading? Is that kind of like
I don't
it's not particularly explanatory. It doesn't matter. And then she says the fires will continue to burn. It's like, well, yeah, but what was the point? I
I
didn't
think
understand that.
I don't have an answer, but uh I have a statement to make about it. I think it's so I don't know, and I thought the same thing, but I think what this is to me is this is that stuff that I'm hesitant. Like that's one of the things I didn't like about this arc. And like you hear people online kind of complaining about like the end of Bad Batch or whatever, like, oh, we didn't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
this answer, this answer, this answer. It's like I feel like that's one of those things where like the pendulum has swung too far the other direction, and they're like, "Well, we have to explain why the trees are all dead when Ahsoka arrives." It's like there is no reason. I feel like it's just that. Well, we've got to connect
yeah.
everything literally. And it's like that didn't make sense. Like I don't
But
need.
you could leave it. Yeah, you could just leave
Yeah,
it. Yeah, 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 yeah. The second question I had was so when we get to the third episode, which is prior to Ahsoka landing on Corvus, and if you like, putting the village to siege. Um, what are they now making for the Empire's gone? So what are they making now? That's not clear to me. Unless she's so assuming that she has used Corvus to create the TIE Defenders for Thrawn.
mhm,
The Empire's now dead, so there's no contract there. And even if there is a way that she's, this is prior to what we learn in Ahsoka about her having a connection with her fellow sisters out in the distant galaxy, in the other galaxy, and finding a way there. What is she producing in the meantime? Because the only thing I could think of was the Eye. You know the ship that
mhm,
they
yeah,
took, which they used as a lifeboat, if you like, or a massive lifeboat for the massive hyperspace ring
mhm,
for Thrawn's ship. That's all I could think of is what she's put them to work. And I guess that would have been kind of cool if they'd have tied that up a little bit more than they did. And then
yeah.
lastly, the question I had for you was who did they call in the distress signal? Because good God, that sounded like Katie Sackhoff and not Hera. Sorry, it sounded like Bo. It didn't sound like Hera. It didn't sound like anyone that I could recognize from uh the Republic side. It seemed to sound like Bo, which would be random for that to be
I guess
where a distress signal
I
go.
I didn't think twice about it. I guess I just assumed it was some generic
Oh,
uh
okay,
Republic
okay.
first responder, like a switchboard operator. But it could have been somebody. That would be very if it was somebody like Bo, that's very weird.
It is, but again, it's one of those moments that I kind of rewound and thought that sounds like Katie.
Yeah.
Only because I've been listening to her so much recently. It's like that sounds like Katie. So I don't know, mate. Anyway,
Well, your point
not to
about
worry.
what they're making, I think that's, and I don't once again I don't have an answer. I think the eye would make sense, or like just building preparatory
Yeah,
stuff. Like, and I guess maybe that's where I was another statement of like, I really enjoyed the Morgan stuff until it got to the end. That's like, oh wait, like that cut off in a weird spot. Like I was hoping it would go more into the post Thrawn is gone. How did
yeah.
she stay connected and start and kind of get these things in motion? But it's like we got the first 3 of 9. It's like the other 6 are what I thought we were gonna really kind of get to, but it really like I knew she was pissed. Like we could all assume that yeah, the separatist sacked her planet, and then we got this whole like mountain clan side plot
Yeah,
of like I don't need to hate her. Like she's kind of like a sub villain, but now it's like but they seem like the
I
focus was like oh you gotta I love her
I love
character and
her.
that but then they kinda I felt like the focus was like this weird, like, oh, she's, like, super evil and super gone. It's like, I don't like, I can assume her motivations, but, like, how like, what happened after her and Thrawn met and, like, things like that, like, it felt like a weird choice of timeline, like, maybe there's more coming or
Yeah,
maybe they're gonna explore like, it does feel like connective tissue for Ahsoka, like, the
yeah.
series and that kinda thing, but it just felt like a weird cutoff, um
It
so yeah,
did.
but
It did. It
the
did.
eye could be what they're
It.
building or whatever.
That's kind of what I took away from it, and I'll run with that until somebody else tells me otherwise. Um, on the obviously then we had the Barris stuff, which was devoted realization and the way out. Um, Tragic,
Mhm.
really tragic. Um, you know,
I really enjoyed that story. Like,
I did. I really enjoyed the story, and it also on on the other hand, it also it left it as open as the Morgan episodes as well. In that, kind of like um, there's some stuff that I loved about it. It was kind of like the connection with Kenobi, the Inquisitor from Kenobi was there.
mhm,
Um, the aesthetics from Kenobi as well, like the same shuttle
mhm.
that the Inquisitors use. The fact that the Inquisitorium is being built, it's kind of cool.
That was pretty cool.
Um, one thing I didn't check, and I don't know if you did, was the voice of the Grand Inquisitor. Was that Jason Isaacs or the
I think it
guy
was
that
Jason
played the role
Isaacs.
in Kenobi? Oh, that's cool.
I
Okay,
believe it was him
cool.
or somebody who did his voice, but it sounded like him and not Rupert,
Yeah,
whatever his
I
last
thought
name
that
is.
I thought the testing that they went through to be Inquisitors, whether they had the metal or not, was kind of cool. I love that kind of PUBG, the whole PUBG thing where
Yeah.
the the beam of death is going to kill them, and it's getting it's getting smaller and smaller. I thought that was kind of cool. But even then, she demonstrates empathy towards the person that she's fighting. There was already kind of signs that maybe just maybe, um, she's not going to be what we all thought she was going to be, or what her destiny would be. Um, I thought that the benevolence that Barriss showed when they were hunting Jedi, her and the fourth sister, I think it's the fourth sister,
Yeah.
when they were
Yeah.
in the second episode when they were hunting Jedi, and the benevolence she showed towards, you know, um, completing the mission so that so that the locals would be allowed to prosper. A very very different take on where the Inquisitors come from normally. I thought that having and I don't know, I don't want to make a big thing out of it, but I thought that having a binary Jedi was quite cool in the episode as well. Um, I thought the way that having representation slipped in,
Mhm.
literally under the radar,
Yeah.
was a heck of a lot more natural, and for me, a lot more classy than perhaps other productions, including Star Wars, have done to demonstrate that they're ticking their diversity box. I thought that
Mhm.
was really, really cool. Um, the other thing that I thought was quite cool, at the end, obviously, she turns her back on the Empire. Um, the last episode, she's a healer, or known as a healer, which I wrote these notes when I saw it on Sunday, but subsequently there's one or two feeds that I plug into and that have similar views, and I just want to say, I already thought this, but whatever. Um, Barris in Legends is a healer, and there was a couple of books that in Legends called MedStar One, where she was essentially a Jedi healer during the Clone Wars to fix folk, to fix clones, to fix fellow Jedi, because she had that kinetic ability to be able to heal muscles and do the stuff that we eventually saw actually in the Rise of Skywalker. So I thought it was quite nice that she was known as the healer going into that last episode, because that was somewhat, in my mind, a callback to her original Legends stuff. I thought that, I don't know if you thought this, but I thought that she was a gateway to the path, or a
Mhm.
had connections with the path. She knew people that knew people, and again, it goes back to my fascination with the path, and the hidden railroad, or the underground railroad, to get people in need out of their circumstances. Um, I thought it was inevitable when they started fighting that the fourth sister would eventually um, kill Barris, but that was like 5 minutes before the end of the episode.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know how it's ended, um, which has made me question the timeline on this. Did this episode come out after? Bearing in mind, time has passed, and you see that in Barris's face. She's a lot older than she was when she first met the fourth sister. But it makes you think: is this after Kenobi? Because in Kenobi, the fourth sister is relentless, absolutely relentless,
Mhm.
and knows her job and knows her mission. At the end of this at the end of this episode, she she saves Barris and she walks off with her. Whether she saved Barris, or Barris has died, or whatever it is, she has embraced Barris and wants to help her, which would suggest that she's also going against her Inquisitor roots and Inquisitor lifestyle, which would suggest to me it's after Kenobi. Um, so yeah, lots of questions,
Yeah,
but I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
I had a couple as well, because I think when they went to the snow planet and they had, like, clearly, but the fourth sister, she didn't look like she aged at all, but Barris looked like
Yeah,
she's weathered and old. Like, and then when they had that little baby at first, like, I was so confused about what the timeline was. I'm like, "Oh my god, is that Finn before he gets taken, like, maybe something happens and he gets taken by the whatever?" But
yeah,
it's like, "Wait,
yeah,
that," then I was like, "Wait a minute, that timeline doesn't make sense at all." And, like, you know me, like, I'm not a big, like, "Well, what was the date?" Like, I don't get into all that. It's
yeah.
like, I get artistic license. But there's a couple other interesting things that happened there. Um, well, my big question is, like, what roughly how long had it been, and is it after Kenobi? There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, it's Barris's redemption," which I'm kind of like, in my head, I'm like, "But Barris was never she was never evil.
No,
She did a stupid thing with, like the bombing and stuff like that, but, like, she was never a bad guy. She was actually, like, right in a lot of ways, but she just did a bad thing, but she was never evil. Like, she was never a
no.
Sith or anything like that. And so it's like, "Oh, it's her redemption." It's like, I guess I see that differently. And the other part was there's a crazy amount of people, like, I usually like to stay away from this, but I just couldn't help seeing this, like, being theorized a lot. And they're like, "Oh, it's opening the door for Barris to do more things." It's like, no, that for me, that was pretty conclusive. Like, Barris is dead. Like that's it's not a, like, "Let me get you out of here," and then, like, I'll heal you and we'll move on and go do something, and you'll reappear in, like, Ahsoka. Because I've seen a lot of people talking about that. It's like, oh, I guess I took that as, no, she's dead. Like, and it was her sacrifice that took the Fourth Sister
Yeah,
navigating her way out of that. And to be clear, like, I don't even know if they're like, "Oh, and the Fourth Sister's gonna become a good guy now." It's like, I don't even know if that's true. I think that was more of a, at most, or at a minimum, the Fourth Sister respected her and now was her friend, and, like, softened her shell of, like, "No, like, I need to get her out of here." But I don't know if she's not gonna be an Inquisitor after this. Like, I would like to believe she's not, but I don't think she's, like, seen the light and fully changed. It's like, I don't know, she was
I
pretty far down that rabbit hole.
well, maybe just the sake of simplicity, she's just kind of
Done.
saying, "Okay, fair game, fair game. I have no beef with you anymore. I'll carry on my mission. I'll carry on what I'm doing elsewhere. But as far as you and I are concerned, um, we're quits. Our mission is done." I also think that one of the interesting one of the interesting suggestions from an awful lot of this, which explains why, um, where were all these force sensitive people during the OT, which is something that I ask myself and you an awful lot, is that it's also kind of, and it's quite easy to assume that, oh, there's they flip from the light side to the dark side, or they flip from the dark side to the light side, and this is they're a good guy now, they're a bad guy now. There's also a more likely explanation, which is these guys get fucked off with the way things are in the universe, and they just disappear into insignificance and just become nothing, and they hide. They just hide.
Well, the
They,
galaxy,
they,
and the
they don't,
galaxy's a big place
don't want to
too.
be, especially when you're talking about people that have been conditioned, especially when it comes down from the Inquisitor's point of view, and from a lesser perspective, sorry, from a lesser degree, Barris's point of view, especially if you've been told that the Jedi lied to you, you were a Jedi, you were training to be a Jedi. The Jedi lied to you. They did this, and this. So you've been told that the that the light side is bad, and then you
Mhm.
see the actions, or witness the actions, or even conduct the actions of the dark side, which is bad, and you just say, "I give up. I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
I'm just gonna go
My
help in my own
abilities."
way, and, like, be.
Exactly. I'll go my own way, as the great Fleetwood Mac once said. But the point
Oh,
being is
such a
that
good
it's
song.
kind of like, the point being is that it's kind of like, yeah, screw you all. This whole hypocrisy, of what is order, um, from two different perspectives. Screw you all. It's about, this is not balance, and they do their own thing. Who knows?
Well,
Who
and
knows?
another,
Maybe,
like,
maybe I'm looking too deeply into it, but
well,
I don't
I mean,
care.
I think this is addressing the concerns and stuff. Like, it's bringing, like, a little bit of reality to, like, those questions that we have of, like, where are all the force sensitive users? It's like, well,
Yeah,
it's not like there were, like,
yeah,
booths on every planet that says, like, sign up for the rebellion, come hang out. It's like there could have
yeah,
been force sensitive people out there who wanted to help, similar to, like, the
yeah,
real world. But it's like you don't know what to do. It's not like the rebellion was, like, super open. It's like, hey, come hang out, come join us, do your
yeah.
part. It's like, no, it was secretive. And so, like, I think that explains a lot of it too. It's like there could have been people out there who, like, a Cal Kestis, like, maybe, like, but they
Yeah,
just don't have the connections. They don't have the hero's journey luck of, like, Oh, hey, you look like an old clone. Oh, hi, I'm Rex, and this is Gregor. You want to come fight the Empire? It's
But
like,
but to my point, they also might be thinking, I look at the light side, and you're kind of a bunch of stuffy fuckers, and then look at the dark side. It's like you're evil gits. I don't
yeah.
want to be part of any of this. Any of this. It's just not. It's not. It's not who I am. It's not who I want to be.
It's like
It's
I'm just trying to survive and like do well for my
yeah,
family. I don't need to get
yeah.
involved in all that. Like I got kids. I got kids. I can't be going and fighting some space battle and killing the Empire. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, this sucks, but like it doesn't suck. That's somebody else. Like it's you can mirror the real world in some ways. It's like just because you have the ability doesn't mean that those people are going to go take action
Well,
that
well, I mean,
they're capable of.
look at Luke. Look at Luke as we find him in the Last Jedi. It's
Mhm.
time for the Jedi to die, and the Jedi should be the the governing body, or not the governing body, the manifestation of what is everything. Everything that is good in the universe, everything that is great in the universe. But you know, he talks
Power
about their
corrupts.
hubris. It talks about their yeah, exactly. Anyway, very very good, really really good, and I'm. It just gets me more excited about the ability for Lucasfilm to do more of that kind of stuff, the flexibility they've got, where they don't have to rely too much on filming schedules and the rest of it. They can just get their heads down and keep uh, an ongoing stream of animation going. I hope they do more of this kind of format. Talked
Mhm.
about before, the old Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales from Jabba's Palace, or whatever it may well be. That would be really really cool. So we see what we've experienced only in written format, both originally and also in recent years, as these anthology sound bites. It'd be good to get them in animation as well. Complements the vision stuff very very well too, which is more conceptual, I know, but anyway, more of that would be great as well. Yeah, no, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Um, I don't I don't really have any more thoughts apart from it's been a great weekend.
And I think that's probably a good place to cut it off. I mean, we're right at our like usual time.
Oh
So,
Jesus! Seriously, dude.
well, we did have Tales of the Empire and May the 4th and the Phantom
Yeah, I
Menace
know,
all lumped into
but
one thing.
we are honestly we're fated.
I'm interested to see what happens
148.
next week. Let's see
Wow.
what happens next week. Maybe next week will be a an X-Men and Planet of the Apes heavy week.
Okay.
I
Deal.
don't know.
Deal. 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 It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, though, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
we've now got the rest of. Actually, it's already the 8th.
Not very much. We
Yeah.
have a couple
No.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah, we got a few weeks, and then we kick off all over again. And I would like to progress to a broader, a broader repertoire, but it's also good. um, all right, buddy. Well, thank you. It's great to catch up with you after what I thought was an amazing weekend. Um, look after yourself and take us out, buddy.
Thank you for listening, everybody. And thank you for being in for the long haul. If you want to send us a voicemail or email, you can go to our website, justchillin.com, and there are links to do that there. You know how to find us all the other ways. Yeah, come hang out, send us a voicemail, send us a message, or don't. Um, yeah, that's it. I was trying to think of
Thank
something. I
you,
was like, there's
guys.
something I was gonna say, but I'm like, I already don't remember what it was. But yeah. Make sure to leave a comment about Andy's recording in person abilities. I think it was pretty good. I thought it turned out great. And so, yeah.
Oh. Thank you, guys. Look after each other. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Love you lots. Till next week. Bye.
Bye.